my friend, if you read nothing else, read the last 10 chapters of the book of Job. There were 4 friends that came to sit before Job to discuss what was going on with Job in his life. But Elihu was the youngest of the friends. And he sat still. He sat quietly and listened for the older, wiser men to speak. And then, in chapter 32, he goes, "You foolish men, I listened, I waited for wisdom to come forth from you, and nothing but foolish talk." The problem is that Job kept saying that he was righteous, that he was right, and the other men just kept saying, nobody's right, nobody's fully righteous, and this, and if you were righteous, none of these bad things would be happening to you. But that's not the case, and we've said that already. In the book of Job, you see that. It has nothing to do with Job's personal integrity and righteousness. And all of this being a test is a force from darkness attacking Job. Now, I did mention at the end of chapter 31, or actually the beginning of chapter 31, but I'll get to that in a second. Chapter 33 continues on with Elihu speaking directly to Job. And if you read nothing else, read those last few chapters of the book of Job and just see that, the Lord's eyes are upon the ways of man. He sees all of his steps. There's no darkness or deep shadow where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. So basically, when we say God knows everything that's going on in your heart, He also isn't surprised by the evils and the wickedness in this world. Okay? Then you start getting into topics like free will and predestination and whether an ultimate sovereignty, the sovereignty of man, the sovereignty of God, our freedom to make bad decisions, the curse that is upon this world brought upon by darkness. And all of those things, nothing is secret from God. That's where we can get our hope. God is over all. He's in control of all. He is supreme. Chapter 35 continues with Elihu's speech, and chapter 36. Sorry, my cat is stalking me while I'm trying to study the word tonight. Okay. Chloe, down. Down, Chloe, down. What? I am not your enemy. Oh, no. Let's be nice. You let the kids carry you around like a rag doll. When it comes to me, you treat me like I'm your enemy, and I'm not. Look at these roses. You see these roses? I bought those for my beautiful wife. We've been married for 11 years in about 8 minutes. 11 years ago. 8 minutes. Well, the problem is I keep waving my hand around here. Oh, okay. We're getting off topic. Stop. Okay? And, seriously, go find something else to do. Here, a box. Klondike bars. Go get it. Okay. We are ending the book of Job tonight. Basically, Elihu reminds Job that God is over all of creation again. Remember that. He sees that he's in charge of the directions of the wind, the clouds, the formation of the seas, even the channels of the seas. And that's actually been studied, that there are channels in the ocean. The channels where the sea travels. And that was predicted even here in the Old Testament, where there are channels in the sea. God speaks directly to Job, starting in chapter 38. He says, basically, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're going to answer me. Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without wisdom? Basically, you are prideful, Job, and you need to be humble. And he does get humble really fast when God speaks to him out of a whirlwind. Have you entered into the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of the deep darkness? He knows the seas and everything in them. And even here in chapter 39 it says, do you know the time the mountain goat gives birth? Do you observe the calving of the deer? He knows everything, even when the animals are giving birth. Nothing escapes his notice. So you're not going to escape his notice. You are not going to escape the notice of God. I know sometimes it feels like it. Sometimes it feels like the whole world is crashing down around you. Chapter 40, God speaks to Job, and then Job kind of goes back to God and says, okay, I'm insignificant, I'm sorry, I lay down with my hand over my mouth, I can't say anymore, I've already said too much. God gives again and says, behold the behemoth, and behold the leviathan, which both of those creatures, by the way, do not sound like crocodiles and hippopotamuses. I don't care who came up with that, but a hippopotamus does not have a tail like a cedar tree, and you can technically lure a crocodile out with a fish hook and put a ring through its nose if you're really good at it. These creatures sound a little bit more like, historic, prehistoric dinosaurs kind of. And remember, the book of Job was probably written before Abraham, somewhere after Noah's Ark, around even the time of the Tower of Babel and on. I mean, there was a lot of time in which this whole thing could have taken place. Remember, Job lives till he's like 140 to sees his children and his grandchildren and everything. Like verse 8 in chapter 41, lay your hand on him, remember the battle will do it again. That's referring to the Leviathan. It says, it's not going to be a good fight. You're never going to do this again if you try to fight with one of these creatures. In chapter 42, Job again to God. And then actually he says, he rebukes only 3 of Job's friends. Some scholars I've read actually believe Elihu might have been a presentation of Jesus, or at least a type of Jesus, because you do see a genealogy of Elihu. He had a father, and he had a people that he came from. So I find it hard to believe that he was actually a picture of Jesus in that midst. But it is interesting that God doesn't rebuke Elihu, just rebukes the other 3 friends and Job, and tells them that Job will pray for them, which is funny and fascinating. Twice as many blessings God gives to Job as what he lost. You see that in the listing of all the animals that he had lost at the beginning of the book, and now he's getting twice the return. But it only lists the same amount of sons and daughters. And it says that his daughters were so beautiful, there was no one in the land as beautiful as the daughters of Job. But why? Why were there only... You know why? Because the children that Job lost in the beginning of the story were not lost forever. They went to be with the Lord. So Job would get them back. He hadn't lost them. So your children that you lose, those loved ones you lose, will come back to you. They will come back to you. That's very comforting to people who have lost loved ones, especially when they die prematurely. And we've spoken to that before earlier in the book, where he talks about stillborns and babies that don't get to experience this life here, but will be sleeping in peace with the Lord, which implies, earthly death, but spiritual life. And that's key. I wanted to just go ahead and close that as the book of Job. We're going to start the book of Psalms next. It'll be really exciting. Really good. Really good material. We're going to cover that for about a month. But I just wanted to say happy anniversary to my beautiful wife. And 11 years. I have Klondike bars here because the night before my wedding, me and a bunch of my friends went out, basically just hung out in the park and talked for like 3 or 4 hours about marriage and life and guy stuff, whatever. And I drank like a half a gallon of milk. And then basically in the morning, the next morning, I could feel that half a gallon of milk still in my throat. Here was my wedding day, and I'm just like, I had a sore throat. I was like, this is not going to go well. So my mom suggested that I get some ice cream. Well, we had gone out to the store and bought a bunch of party supplies for our bachelor night, including cheese puffs and Dr. Pepper and Klondike bars. So I had a Klondike bar the morning of my wedding. So every year since, I've had a Klondike bar. We buy a box of 6 Klondike bars, and me and my wife share them. And that's just been a tradition, along with a cake. We also get a little tiny cake for just the 2 of us. Like, look, similar to the wedding cake that we had, the top of that. And of course I sent roses. Beautiful roses. Anyway, that's the end of the book of Job, and I hope that we were able to draw some good insights out of this book, because it does need thorough study. It's an amazing book, and it has a lot of good lessons for us. Mostly that God is sovereign, and that He's in control of everything. So let's not allow worry and anxiety and fear to conquer us. Let's conquer those things through Him, through prayer, through faith, that we will see our Redeemer, the resurrection, and we will see Him if we trust in Him today. Good night and shalom.